Good morning, good morning. My name's John Wright. It is February 1st, 2024. And you know what? Donald Trump's gone off at the rails. And you know why he's gone off at the rails is because, and a lot of people make this here point, and I'm going to make it even further. These Republican people, such as all of them, actually Donald Trump for sure, Haley for absolutely sure. This morning it even goes there. They live in a past life. These people are a little older than me, I think. I'm 62 years old. Okay, when I was a child, 6, 7 years old, between 7 and 8, I was in a cage in Port Angeles, Washington. And my family members was running around in a post-traumatic stress disorder because my dad came back from North Korea. I'm telling you, the stuff that these guys were saying around me, they were looking for Chinese submarines off Port Angeles. And by the way, I did see a Chinese submarine off Port Angeles, Washington, parked right down there by the fiberboard mill. Matter of fact, I wonder, there was I remember the submarine. It was exposed to the top of the water. The mask was sitting out of it. It had a sunshine like this. It was like an orange. It had a little ray of sunshine like this on it. And I also seen John Wayne's yacht down there. He had a paddle boat down there. They also have John Wayne's marina down there. And a lot of the clues that my mother and stuff was doing, they were living by signs like going to such places as Pillar Point. You get the point? And I said, like my attorney's office up here in Harrison Avenue, Harrison and Plymouth up here in Olympia. I think it's 1405 Harrison Avenue and 1405. You know, you just add that up and it's 10. And that's the Zodiac Way. It's like the bowling alley in Morton, Washington, right there. The little one that my dad was in the basement down there, where me and my dad ended up being, it is 208 Main Street, Morton, Washington. And right across the street of it, there's a building that's painted brown, and they call it the Rabbit Hole. Well, I was in a rabbit's cage in Port Angeles, Washington, and somebody absolutely knows what they've done on this one. And my brother Jerry is in the Boy Scouts of America, and the Boy Scouts have been acting out a long time, and the Republicans are involved with the Boy Scouts of America and the cops is what's gone on. And these are people like Donald Trump and stuff that's been abused in this are Boy Scouts of America. And even the Girl Scouts of America, Nikki Haley might even be a Girl Scout of America, you know. And these are people, you know, they were enlisted by them into this because their parents, they didn't have time for them. They were working to make ends meet. Everybody was struggling, so they put their children in this. They also put their children in orphanages and stuff. My grandmother, Isabel L. Nelson, from 15619 Northeast 3rd Avenue in Brush Prairie, Washington. We have a 40-acre farm right there. Right across the street there's a Jerry Lee Dunn that's in the cemetery right there. My grandmother's buried right there near him, just right off to the right of him. And so is Henry M. Nelson. Anyway, M, L, J, interesting, the letters and stuff that goes on. But the Millhouse Smokehouse in Morton, Washington is named after now Millhouse Nixon. Nixon Millhouse Smokehouse. You see, the Republicans was behind the hijacking, and I know because I was in school with Greta Evans, the governor's daughter. the governor's granddaughter in Port Angeles, Washington. And me and Greta would just look at each other and not say one word. And I don't know what's happened to Greta Evans. I would sure like to know what happened to Greta Evans, because I've looked for her, and I could find some people. I could find my friends that was in school with me, that I'm glad that in a way, I'm glad I got moved out of there, because I was scared that my friends would get murdered when I was a child. And what happened was, these people was acting out in such a way with post-traumatic stress disorder, and they could only see dollar signs for whatever they could rip off. They could possess it and stuff like this, because they were learned from a mentality to rip things off. My mother was just that type of a person, and I didn't know how it worked. I was just a child that was just actually held away from the way they really acted. I could only observe from a distance, and the things that they done. Well, my mother, and when my dad went off to California, I remember my dad went off to California, and the reason he went to California is because the fiberboard mill in Port Angeles, Washington was shutting down, in late 1968. My dad heard about, was telling us about this. He was gone by Thanksgiving. Well, he was in California during the first David and Mary Lou Jensen's murder. And Mary Lou Jensen probably was the person that they wanted to murder, you see, and they used the Boy Scout in order to get the person, and they both got killed in that. You see, Jerry's a Boy Scout, and that's how the Boy Scouts are connected. Most of these people that are connected with the Boy Scouts that are getting murdered, a lot of times, is what I'm saying. Now, Michael Mougeot, was Michael Mougeot a Boy Scout? I bet he was. I'll bet $5 that Michael Mougeot was absolutely a Boy Scout. And the woman, in turn, she was definitely the target too on that one. And now look at the Sybil and the Mike and the Brian Harnell, the attorney, and Sybil, it's funny, because my brother Jerry, his wife, his mother-in-law, is Cecilia Frost, or Dunn, because she married Bob Dunn. You see, Jerry's following signs. He married Sammy Luann Frost. SLF. I mean, there's something to this. He married a woman that has L in the middle of his name, just like his mother has that middle name L in her name, just like George has the L in her name, just like my sister Patricia L. Wright has a L in her name, just like my Aunt Patty has a L in their name. All these people with an L in their name, they're running a conniving thing around our family. And they're also forcing people to comply around me, is what it is. And why? Well, I guess it's because they're dirty, and they've been dealing with dirty people. And such as these here people in the United States of America, they go by L, and you'll find C in their names, LC, and let's see, other things, but, like the alphabet, the things that I see on, the codes, when you're looking at the zodiac codes and stuff like that, I could read my mom's Mert in it, or Murata, the things that my dad said. He gave me names and stuff, and I see them right there in that. Anyway, good morning. And, you know, Haley and them, they live back in the days of yesteryear. Right here, there's an article on her, and she's going to be speaking out. And Donald Trump, him and his people that they're in, you think of Star Trek and think of Star Trek and Uhura and Chekhov and all these are people and these things. This is no more than a comic strip that's space, the final frontier. These people are living in yesteryears. They live in movies and stuff, and they live in stuff that's Harlequin romance books. I wouldn't doubt it if these people do read that kind of stuff. Now let's listen to this about this Haley. I don't need to flip it there.
The issue, as if she has no idea which people she's supposed to be courting. And if you needed a clearer example of that, Nikki Haley sat down today for an interview with The Breakfast Club, which is one of America's most popular syndicated black talk radio shows. And on that show, Nikki Haley decided to blame America's division on the first black president.
I think with Obama, that was, if you go back, that's when we really started to feel the division. That's when it was.
A lot of that was because of white supremacists.
Well, no, I think it was everything. Everything was exaggerated with the Obama administration. It became more about gender. It became more about race. It became more about separating Americans instead of bringing them together.
Permit me for a second here. Nikki Haley says that during the Obama administration, everything became more and more about separating people by gender and race. It has been nearly 8 years since Barack Obama was president, but it is worth remembering what Barack Obama actually did on the issues of gender and race. He passed the Lilly Ledbetter Act, which worked to close the gender pay gap. He became the first president in history to endorse marriage equality. He worked to ensure that health insurance covered birth control under the Affordable Care Act. When it came to race, President Obama started the My Brother's Keeper initiative to help young men of color overcome opportunity gaps. He used his position to speak for grieving communities, many of them communities of color, after the massacre at Mother Emanuel Church and after the killings of unarmed black teenagers like Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown. And all of that, according to Nikki Haley, was about dividing Americans.
It became more about separating Americans instead of bringing them together.
That was because of right-wing media, though. Well, they were scared to death of a black president.
This is Republicans.
Everybody's at fault. I'm not saying
they
one person
it's
did this,
everybody
but I'm saying under that administration, it really did cause.
I never voted for Barack Obama.
You just felt
but
felt
that
like
doesn't mean I didn't support the president. You support the
Obama
president you get behind until you're
Americans
proven
by
different. Such as Trump. Hey, if I
Just
voted
take
for
a second
Trump,
to remember
I take it
how
back.
Nikki
I'm not
Haley's
going to vote for him this
actual
year.
primary opponent
You don't
in
have
this
to
race,
either.
how he ran for president the first time around.
Don't vote. Here.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. When Mexico...
What's going on is Donald Trump has caused a division in the United States of America so he can conquer the United States of America and not follow the laws of the United States of America to overthrow the United States of America. And another thing that Mr. Trump did was he had cake with a Chinese leader, and he started all of this right there in his Largo with those records that he had down there with a Chinese person. And was he down there actually selling military records to the Chinese person at that time? The records was right there in his place where he had the cake with the Chinese leader. This man is a treasonous. This man's neck should be stretched out. This man should be hung. For everything that I'm witnessing now, listen to him.
Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Mr. Trump is just doing nothing more than a big blow up of smoke up everybody's ass, and we're not going to buy it. My name's John Wright. This is 15 Minutes, and I'm out of here.